New allegations of vote buying in Mississippi. A pastor claiming the Cochran campaign paid thousands of Democratic voters to vote for the incumbent Republican. My next guest says he's refused to concede to Senator Cochran because he's trailing him by fewer than 7,000 votes and keeps finding more invalid votes and ballots. Join me now, Republican Senator, Senate candidate from Mississippi, Chris McDaniel. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
I think a lot of people are surprised at these allegations. You've got 1,500 invalid ballots, as I understand it right now. What makes you think you can get to the requisite 8.5% that you would need to invalidate the election itself?
Well, that's because today we're up to more than 3,300 irregularities in just a handful of days, not counting the fact that most of these counties have not been surveyed yet because we do not have access to the poll book. So when you look at this among the totality of the circumstances, we recognize the numbers are there. And likewise, we've had an incredible number of allegations made lately against the Cochran campaign and their camp as to voter fraud. So this is an investigation that has to take place. It's something we need to do, not simply for a campaign or a candidate, but for the integrity of the process.
Well, Black Mississippi pastor, Reverend Stevie Fielder, claims that Cochran's campaign promised him some money and gave him some money, walking around money to get out the black vote to support Senator Cochran and to stave off your challenge. But now there's a lot of questions about Pastor Fielder. He was paid by a reporter, apparently, for his story. What's your reaction?
Well, he had some very detailed allegations, but that's not the only allegations that have been made. We also heard allegations from head Democrats there in Hinds County who pointed directly to the head GOP chairperson there in Hinds County and said that Pete Perry, the GOP chairperson, asked him to violate the law, basically, to agree to not have the poll books there and to allow crossover voters. So these are not isolated allegations. We're hearing these time and time again. Two of these have gone on the record now, and the allegations are very succinct, they're very detailed. And we anticipate we're going to hear more and more of those as this investigation continues.
Well, as your vote count for invalid ballots rises, we're also hearing stories about apparently relatives of, at least one relative of Haley Barbour, the former governor, national Republican leader there in Mississippi. Is there anything in your judgment to those allegations?
It's a good question. In my judgment, this is what it boils down to. Last Tuesday evening, 40,000 liberal Democrats decided the Republican nominee in Mississippi for U.S. Senate. That's a problem. 40,000 of those were driven to the polls by an orchestrated effort on the part of the Barbour and Cochran machine. That's a problem. We conservatives in this country have to learn to fight again for conservative values. Republicans need to stand on their principles for a change. That's not what happened Tuesday. They race-baited. They talked about growing government. They even said that if I was elected, I would make sure that minorities do not vote, which is absolute nonsense. But this is not the way we grow parties in this country. They have abandoned the conservative movement, and that's a problem.
Well, they're in direct opposition to it. What I'm curious about, and I think our viewers here tonight, is at what point do you think you're going to know whether you have sufficient evidence to overturn the election and to have a new election?
I think there's sufficient evidence now, and the numbers we were talking about earlier of 3,300 at least irregular voters out there. It's just going to grow. We haven't gotten to the bigger part of those counties where we saw so much fraud, and that was in the Obama counties, the counties that Obama won during his presidential races. That's where we see it. Once we get up there, the whole country's going to see it. We believe there was corruption in Mississippi that night. It's our job to find it, to root it out, and to make it right for the process.
Chris McDaniel, we thank you for being with us here tonight.
Thank you very much.